It's a belief that the other person can, that has all the resources they need, and they can communicate and they can be kind. When you completely look at a child with that lens, there's no need to ever tell them what they should be doing anymore. That's just gone. My favorite quote is John Dewey's, that education is not preparation for life, but is life itself. I think that's one of the biggest issues with education, is this idea that it's preparing us for something later. I believe that education is about being right here in the now, learning as much as we can in this present moment, offering children opportunities to learn who they are, to connect with themselves, to have exposure to new ideas, to other people, and to be supported in that. And then opportunities to expand their world, right? To learn new things and branch out, not because they might be able to be successful in the future, but because that's beneficial right now. Our biggest priority here is really the social, emotional well-being of everyone in the community. So that's children, teachers, parents. We really try to get to know every child, not via some kind of checklist of are they doing this or that, but who is this person? That's where our values, freedom, responsibility, and compassion come from. So the idea is that when we take responsibility for ourselves first, so I take responsibility for my own feelings, my needs, my ideas for the day, then I can really learn to be a member of the community, and then I have space for compassion for others. So that compassion part means I can learn to listen to others' ideas and offer someone else a supporting hand, and children can learn to communicate and collaborate. So that responsibility combined with compassion, the idea is then that creates this freedom where we can all be in this community together, free to make our own choices about what we want to do for the day. What do we want to study? What do we care about? I think one of the challenges that I have experienced with mainstream education, especially in the US, I can't speak to other places, is this sort of worry and fear around making sure that we sort of push this academic curriculum, and especially into the younger and younger ages, that we have to prepare them for kindergarten, and in elementary school we're preparing them for middle school and preparing them from high school. There's a lot of this emphasis on preparing for the future and not a lot of emphasis on being in the now. We really believe in using an emergent curriculum, and a lot of that has been inspired by the Reggio Emilia approach from Italy, which just allows us to be present with what is meaningful and what's alive for the children and the teachers that day. So it could be, a cricket that wandered into the circle, and that's what we end up talking about, and we end up researching crickets, and that's becomes the curriculum for the day. Or it could be a longer thread, like the kinder students today happened to bring up an interest in Mesa Verde, and they looked it up on the computer and printed out sheets about it and read stories and made dioramas. Because when we talk about things that are present right now and meaningful for the children, those ideas stick much better. And we do run into parents being worried, is my child going to read? What if we don't push them? And we really try to just sit with the fear. It is scary. It's scary to be a parent. It's scary to not know when it's going to happen. It helps us create this foundation that we're in this together. We're going to be with you. I think the environment is a critical part. We consider it to be the third teacher. What we set out is what they're going to interact with, besides each other and us. So we intentionally chose a place that was very home-like. We also have created a huge outdoor space because we feel like it's very important for them to be outside every day. Even in Colorado, where we have crazy winters, we still go outside, we put in all the snow gear. It's just an important part of living where we live. So outdoor, bringing nature inside as well, so having places where we can bring in, collections from the outside, And then also having the indoor space set up so that it's very intentional in terms of where they go. So like they would go into this particular room to do art projects, as opposed to just a big one classroom where you have everything happening at once. It's a little harder for the child to, or for anyone, to really specifically focus in on something because there's just so much happening in one room. Certainly with the youngest children, attachment to a safe caregiver is their first priority. With the social emotional needs of a toddler, if they don't feel securely attached to that person who is taking care of them throughout the day, none of this other stuff is worth talking about because they're in a state of fight or flight all day long, just wondering if they're going to survive. So I really believe that that's true even as the children get older, that the first priority is for that teacher to be a presence in their life, someone that they know they can count on, they can go to for support, to get their help getting their needs met. So that attachment piece, I think, is really important for all human beings to know that we're in a safe, supportive, loving environment. Then beyond that, there is a role of the teacher to help challenge the child, to try new things, to take risks, to figure out what it is that that child is wanting to learn and offer them opportunities to try that. So teachers can bring their, someone might bring poetry because they're excited about poetry. See if anyone wants to do it. It's a way of just modeling being in the world, as opposed to that more of kind of a standing back and waiting approach. I believe that the reason that the social emotional is so challenging to teach is actually because the adults are challenged by it. I don't believe that social emotional learning is hard for children at all. I actually think that it's much easier for them. Most of our communication in our society, we don't even realize it, is not nonviolent. It's not violent per se. We're not, brandishing swords around. However, this idea of telling people what they should be doing, offering people advice when they're upset, all of those things give this message to the other person that they're not enough, they're not good enough, they can't do it. Adults in our society, here where I live, my experience is that we're not in tune with our own feelings to begin with. So when we cultivate that ability to learn to be in tune with our own feelings, and then we model that and we label it when it's happening with the children, they pick up on it just as easily as they pick up on the fact that orange is orange and green is green. You wouldn't say to a child, go sit in the corner because you're not walking correctly. So when I look at them and I say, well, you haven't learned yet how to ask for what you need, and that's why you're throwing yourself on the floor, and of course I'm going to come in close. I'm going to say, here, you could say, I'm really thirsty, I need a drink, as opposed to saying, go sit in timeout for having a tantrum. That doesn't make any sense, to punish a child for not knowing how to ask for what they need yet. And when one child grabs something from the other one, that's a pretty clear message that they want it. Or when they hit each other, that's a clear message, get out of my face, right? They come with that built-in understanding of how to communicate with other human beings. What we're wanting to offer is give them more information about how our society would like for them to communicate those needs. And so for us here in the US, we would prefer that they say, hey, can I have a turn? I would like to share that. It's a belief that the other person can, that has all the resources they need, and they can communicate and they can be kind. When you completely look at a child with that lens, there's no need to ever tell them what they should be doing anymore. That's just gone. I don't know, for me personally, that is trusting in the sort of basic goodness and aliveness of human beings.